Hello and welcome to Studio RC. My name is Max and I am an alcoholic. I want to welcome you today. We're beginning a brand new series. Start looking at the 12 traditions of AA. Now, at Recovery Church, we have our values. We have our 12 values. But one of the things we do is we definitely believe in the 12 steps, and the 12 traditions we use as a guide. Whereas in the AA fellowship specifically, that's kind of what guides their meetings and the business end, and the thought, or one of the joke is the steps keep us from committing suicide, and the traditions keep us from committing homicide. Now, I don't know if that might be taking it too far, but there are a lot of great principles in the 12 traditions. So we're going to take a look each week at a different tradition. And this will be the same intro each time. And because there are 12 traditions, it comes out of the 12 and 12 book, what we're going to do is we're going to take 12 minutes for each tradition and see how much we cover and what we can figure out about that. Now, one of the things I know, sometimes traditions, they're not the sexiest thing going. Sometimes when people find, if you go to a meeting and it's a tradition meeting, you're like, oh, it's a tradition meeting. I think that sometimes the more you get into them and the more you understand them, there are so many transferable principles, not only for the group, but for the individual as well. And so we're going to take a look at that and just see how that guides us, and also how that impacts us at Recovery Church, and how those traditions, how they kind of live themselves out in our context. But so we'll take this opportunity. We're going to look at each one, a different one each week. And so let's jump in right now. Thanks so much, and come on this journey as we take a look at AA's 12 traditions. The 10th tradition. Let's jump into the 10th tradition. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. I don't know. I'm going to forget the clock. I can't forget the clock. Let's put the clock up. I wanted to jump in. I'm so excited, but we're going to put the clock up and away we go. I think the 10th tradition just sounds like wisdom. No opinion on outside issues. And it's crazy that that's not usually how most organizations run, but it sure helps out in the rooms of recovery. That is for sure. I think of how divided our current culture is today in our country, our part of the world, politically, socially, what justice looks like, what the concerns about things in the environment, all sorts of are super divisive. We have found that there's almost no middle ground. And if someone was sharing about that in a recovery meeting, I mean, people would come to blows. They've come to blows elsewhere. Thanksgiving dinner has been, recently, very, you got to step very tenderly and to avoid arguments. One of the things they show in the illustrated 12 steps, the speaker goes, thanks to AA, I've maintained a happy sobriety for 10 years. I thank you. But before I leave, I know I speak for all of AA when I protest the current legislation before the Congress. I refer to that infamous piece of rubbish known as Bill XYZ. It must not pass, and to that end, I am sending a telegraph in the name of AA and our group. And in the picture, all sorts of chaos ensues. And the newcomer is in the corner. How could anyone get sober and stay sober in an outfit like that? I love, even worthy cause, good cause. We have no opinions on outside issues. Alcoholics Anonymous. The individual can have outside opinions, and many of us do, but we don't bring it into our sharing. We don't bring it into the rooms of AA. We just don't do that. And there is such wisdom, and that wisdom continues to pay off because we're not a left or right organization, a blue or a red organization. We're like it's made up of all the people in society, but it's not reflected in there. I heard this quote in early recovery, and I love this. Too often opinions are just dressed up judgments. Too often opinions are just dressed up judgments. I like that. I was also taught in early recovery, being right is highly overrated. Being right is highly overrated because sometimes you want to get in the last word, or we're willing to have a fight over something maybe that's not important. And that's not to say that outside issues can't be important or don't stoke people's passion. But we just keep those outside. We keep AA and recovery as pure as possible. Recovery Church agrees with that. We're not doing political statements. We're not doing. That's one of the things in regards to Recovery Church. In our philosophy, and that kind of parallels this, is we major in the majors. And what that means is, as Recovery Church, we believe in the tenets of an Orthodox Christianity. It's on our website at recovery.church, and as any new campus becomes a campus, they read through our what we believe in regards to Orthodox Christianity, but each having again that some of that autonomy in from campus to campus. They may live out or practice certain things differently, and how that works, but we major in the majors. And one of the things we don't do, because we don't court controversy, we try not to, quote, for lack of better words, get in the weeds with things. In Recovery Church, we believe in the Trinity, we believe in God the Father, Jesus the Son, the Holy Spirit. We believe in those things. We believe in salvation through Jesus. We believe in the things that were understood as across the board. All Christian organizations, all Christian denominations believe in the certain group of tenets, and then there's some additional tenets that maybe different faiths or denominations live out a little differently or understand, but we don't want to get into, again, quote, the weeds. We don't want to become social justice warriors for anything, because we don't want to lose our primary purpose of the 12 steps, one goal of helping bring that spiritual awakening and that long-term sobriety to addicts and alcoholics. And so we don't do outside issues either. And I think it keeps things clean. And I think that whether it's in AA, whether it's in Recovery Church, there's just so much wisdom about that. One of the things, and this is a pretty bold statement, the 12 and 12 starts out Tradition 10, and it says, never, since it began, has Alcoholics Anonymous been divided by a major controversial issue. That's pretty significant. Like never has the society been divided. Whether, should we have the designated hitter or not? We're not getting divided over that. Can you put pineapple on your pizza or not? We're not going to get divided by that, or other more weighty issues for sure. So long as we don't argue these matters privately, it's a cinch we never shall publicly. We AAs have known from the very beginning that we must never, no matter what the provocation, publicly take sides in any fight, even a worthy one. Especially never in the name of AA, not in the name of our home group, or like that. That's not how. That's not what we do. We live in such a way that we don't have opinions on outside issues in regards to recovery. We don't let it stain. We don't let it affect what we're trying to do in recovery, because those things, if we take stands, they get in the way of people getting sober and clean, and we don't want that. We want God's grace to flourish. We re-emphasize that there's a reluctancy to fight one another or anybody else is not counted. As we do that, it's not some special virtue which makes us feel superior to others. Oh, I don't have an opinion. I don't do that. It is for our preservation. We're going to go. We're not going to have people back away from their individual responsibility and the things that they do, but we do not enter into public controversy as a group or on behalf of the group. Since recovery from alcoholism is life itself, at least to us, to addicts and alcoholics, those people who've gotten sober, it is imperative that we preserve in full strength our means of survival. This thing called recovery, this thing called the 12 steps. We don't get in the way of what that is. We don't get in the way of it coming about by saying, yes, we need to take a stand on this issue. Alcohol-related issues. That's not really what we do. We learn to work together, to live together. That's a new concept for addicts and alcoholics. Let it be noted that almost always we're concerned with ways to make AA more effective and how we can do the most good for the most alcoholics. That's what we want to do. We want to get out of the way of, we don't want to put any obstacles in the way of people coming to recovery. So the tradition book, the 12 and 12, talks about a society called the Washingtonians. And there was this movement among alcoholics, which started in Baltimore, I think 120 years ago or so. And they almost discovered the answer to alcoholism. And at first, this society was composed entirely of alcoholics trying to help one another. And they dedicated themselves to this sole aim of helping alcoholics. In many respects, the Washingtonians were akin to AA of today. Their membership passed the 100,000 mark, so significant. There were a lot of people. But they didn't stick to their primary purpose. The Washingtonians permitted politicians and reformers, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, to use the society for their own purposes. First, the abolition of slavery, which was a stormy political issue at the time, and the country, in some ways, people say that we fought the war over that. Washingtonian speakers violently and publicly took sides on both sides of the question. And they may have survived that, but they did not survive when they took up against or for prohibition against America's drinking habits. They said the Washingtonians are behind the temperance movement. When the Washingtonians became temperance crusaders, in other words, they were in favor of outlawing alcohol, telling people they shouldn't drink. Within a few years, they completely lost their effectiveness in helping alcoholics, and it fell apart quite quickly. AA learned that lesson from the Washingtonians. They never let that lesson go. So AA and their members resolved to keep our society out of public controversy. We have no opinion on outside issues. We just, as AA, as a group, and we don't discuss them in meetings. We don't bring up controversial topics. I think that there is a certain peace for people that we don't. It takes away any burden when not having to do that. So, simplified, this is AA stays neutral on external issues to avoid controversies that could distance it from its mission, our primary purpose. In Matthew 5:9, it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Peacemakers, not always peacekeepers. Peacemakers, sometimes there's some action involved in trying to keep the peace. But in recovery rooms, we are so aggressive. Like, that's an outside issue that, like, people will call things to, like, make sure that that doesn't enter in. And that the spiritual concept here is neutrality in external matters helps maintain peace. It helps maintain our focus, and it ensures the mission isn't compromised by outside conflicts. We're not going to be undone because of an election, because of a particular bill, a particular mindset. We're not going to be undone by that, because we're not going to let controversy come in and dissuade us or get in the way as an obstacle to our primary purpose of, helping people get sober, get clean, having people achieve that one goal of a spiritual awakening. That's 10 in a nutshell. So if you have some comments, if you have some additional thoughts, if you want to see something controversial, probably not. But if you want to leave a comment in the comment section, we'd love to further the discussion. We do encourage you to like, to share, to follow, to subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We're just trying to make sure we can get the word of Studio RC out and really encourage others in their recovery. So we thank you for coming and continuing on this journey in the traditions. And we remind you that Recovery Church, there's 12 steps, but one goal. God bless, and we will see you next time.